Imagine cutting your costs in half. VTEX, the enterprise platform offering commerce, OMS, marketplace solutions, and much more, can help you reduce your total cost of ownership by at least 50%. Trusted by global leaders such as Carrefour, Walmart, Cencosud, VTEX is the go-to choice for both CIOs and CEOs who demand excellence. Discover how VTEX can elevate your business today. Visit vtex.com or click the QR code on your screen. Let's go to the episode. Today I'm joined by Dusan Vujovic for a sweet interview. He's the head of North America at toTony's Chocolonely, a brand that's as bold in its mission as it is in its flavors. Known for its vibrant packaging and unconventional chocolate bars, toTony's is on a mission to make the world's chocolate 100% exploitation-free. Founded in the Netherlands, the brand has taken a stand against the bitter realities of the cocoa industry, setting new standards for ethical sourcing and transparency. We'll be diving into the challenges of breaking into the US market, the secrets behind their vertically integrated business model, and why toTony's is willing to pay drastically more for its cocoa beans. Plus, we'll hear how they've managed to turn their mission into a movement, one delicious bar at a time. Here's Paula Macaggi, and this is episode 74 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. Dusan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Paula.
Well, first off, we have a very colorful table here. I'm excited to not only talk about it, but eat it after.
Yeah, usually when I come in and I talk, everybody loves to get some samples. So I always make sure I bring the gifts. So everybody
Absolutely.
enjoys it.
That's incredible. So I told many of my friends that I was going to come and interview you today to the studio. And everybody's like, oh my God, I love toTony's. It's a brand that sparks this reaction in everybody. I think that's very special.
It's very true. I think everywhere I go, and I usually carry these on the streets where I go or when I go to an expo or a fair, when people see toTony's chocolate or branding, usually we get a reaction, oh my God, I love toTony's. And I think it's that true fandom of people, not just liking the product, which is delicious. I can vouch for that, but there is this passion and energy about the brand and what we're doing. So really happy to be part of the story and the brand.
So unfortunately, there is still people that are not so familiar with toTony. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the story of the chocolate?
It's funny that this year it's exactly 20 years since toTony's has come to life. We like to joke that it came to life out of a mistake or out of a joke. Essentially, a Dutch journalist called Toon came up with the chocolate when he saw that nobody was doing anything when it comes to supply chain in West Africa. There was a lot of commitment by the big chocolate companies to say we're going to improve the conditions and how we compensate the farmers. And unfortunately, he realized nothing was actually done, or it was actually getting worse. So he said, you know what, let me try to make an ethically sourced chocolate that doesn't have slavery within the supply chain. He came up with a chocolate. They said, if you want to call it something, don't call it Toon, which is Dutch for Tony's. So he said, call it toTony. And he made 5,000 bars, sold them in a day. He's like, okay, we'll sell another 5,000. And out of a pure coincidence or out of a stunt for a news report, it became this great brand. And now it's 20 years running and it's popular around the world.
It is. And the packaging, it's impossible to ignore. If we see one of these bars, we know that what it tastes like. I'm tasting it just by looking at it.
Right. Right. It's this nostalgia. I think people kind of see it as this old school wrapper packaging. Actually, a very smart guy, Klink, who is a Dutch person, 20 years ago, had 10 minutes to come up with this packaging before a piece in the report. So he took a piece of paper, drew this down and said, every color will be a flavor. We'll have a ribbon. And to this day, we haven't touched the packaging for 20 years, which is unheard of. And if you think about it, our branding and our logo is essentially a bar. We don't have a logo as a company. Our logo is the bar. Itself.
Yeah.
Which is very unique if you think about it. We are very proud of it, and it literally stands out on every shelf. You can't miss it. You walk in a store, and a lot of the retailers come and say, you make our shelves look very pretty. And we like to call that rainbow effect. So I hope we never touch this branding because it does so well.
Well, it impacts us a lot. So that's a good sign.
I'll give you a funny number. 45% of people buy us because of the packaging initially, which is very tough, right? When they don't know you. So it tells you something. Somebody did something right 20 years ago. And I think we should keep it.
Absolutely. But one thing is the packaging is beautiful. And then I think there's another surprise when you're trying it for the first time, right? Like the bar is not split evenly.
Right. So a lot of people, we now showcase our bar more naked, as we like to say it, because there is a secret within the wrapper. So the wrapper on its own, it's unique on its own. But when you open it, you get 20-something pieces of chocolate that are all unequally divided. So they're not the same. And the whole premise is that the reason the chocolate came about, and as we like to say, we are a mission-driven company that produces chocolate and not the other way around. We want to create a conversation, and the conversation around the bar is that not everybody gets the equal piece. And that's okay in life sometimes, but it's unfair when the farmers, which enable us to have this delicious product that we all enjoy, do not get a piece of what they created. So we want to make sure that people are aware that there is a bitter truth in the cocoa supply and that we as a company have a mission to change it. So one of the key metrics or KPIs that we track as a company is the issue awareness. Do people know how big is the issue? Then do they know what we are doing about it and everybody else? So I think that's critical to improve the conditions, because I always like to say, until the farmers get out of poverty, this industry will have issues. And it doesn't stand good with me and everybody at Tony's. And luckily, more and more people are saying that's not fair and right. So what are we going to do about it? So I think we're giving them a way to do something about it.
Yeah, but do you have, I don't know, do you get some emails of people like, hey, I bought this bar, and if they still not aware of it? Like, because I remember when I saw Tony's store for the first time in Amsterdam, I had this whole story told, like somebody was telling me this story. So I knew when I tried the first time.
So we do get a lot of fan mail every month. They put on my desk like a lot of fan mail, which is from invites to graduations, weddings, pictures of school being wrapped in Tony's wrappers. Like a lot of kids at school use Tony's as an inspiration of what does it mean to do good. And I think when you're a young kid at school, putting those things in their minds, that there's more to it, to a product than just the taste. It's what they really stand for. So I think that gives you kind of this energy that you're doing something right. So we are proud of it, right? But of course, there's more to it, like you said, and it's there, and we really take pride in it. So
yeah, and as a Dutch brand, and that's when I think gets very interesting as we are talking the retail part of it, right? Like in the commercial part, it's a Dutch brand. You have that amazing experience in Amsterdam, like that you can literally spend a few hours there doing your own chocolates, trying different bars. How was bringing that message to the US, which is a very tough market to enter?
Yeah, it is tougher than it seems. I think we all think, oh, we're going to make it work, but it's tough. I think Netherlands is definitely not known for chocolate. Belgium is. We do make our chocolate in Belgium, whether we're a Dutch brand. But honestly, I think we really led first with the mission to say, hey, there is a problem we're trying to solve, and we're a great tasting chocolate. I think that was the entry ticket. Of course, now it's all about, like, that will get you through the door, but it won't let you stay inside, because, you know, people do buy you. You can do the greatest things in the world. If you don't taste good, people just won't buy you again. We're fortunate to have both really unbiased, and I always admit it, great tasting chocolate, but also, a packaging that stands out. But really at our core, it's the mission that is there. So we said, let's be patient how we build it. So, Tony's, a lot of people that see us now are like, oh, you came out of nowhere. We've actually been 80 years in US. So that's kind of, let's pause there for a second. Of course, in the last 2-3 years, we have this exponential growth, but you need time to establish the base, to get to your core consumers, for them to start advocating that you're a great brand. A lot of people that actually tries for the first time is somebody like I did today, brought the chocolate and said, you got to try this chocolate. It's really amazing. They're doing all these great things. So we get from people that try as they become brand ambassadors. So when you have small marketing budget,
I am a brand ambassador.
There you go. So exactly, You're going to become a brand ambassador, or maybe somebody else, and they're going to go to their friends. And that's why I always bring the chocolate, because it's the best way to spread the mission, the word about the mission and the taste. So I think patience and really focusing on what are you about more than just the taste. And if you have that patience over the period of time, you're going to build it in a way that then it's a truly sustainable business that has a huge run rate, in a $4 billion industry in US alone, right? So it's just there for taking, but you got to do it right.
Yeah, but you're competing with mega brands that sell, I don't know, M&M, Mars, like everything. Is that the mission enough in the product?
You always think is it easier later or in the beginning? Is it easier when people don't notice you, or when you're on the forefront of their meetings and saying, what are these guys doing, capturing share of shelf and sales? I think, fortunately enough, we are already at a point that we're here to stay, I'd like to say, and people are acknowledging that we are a player that's going to be meaningful. It doesn't make it easier, to your point, because you're really getting into the property of major players that are in a very lucrative industry. And we're going to talk about the cost pressures, right? So it's a mix of many different things that are coming to play. But, I think a lot of good brands in the chocolate space. At the same time, I'm very humble when I say I think Tony's is a player that has a permission to do something remarkable, not just on its own size, but for the industry. And I think we're doing pretty well so far. And I think we can still do way better.
Yeah, but your price point is a little up compared to others.
We have an advantage, a disadvantage, that we have a disproportionately large bar that is twice the size of an average bar. And everybody goes smaller in bars due to shrinkflation. We don't. We're still this bar. When you take the bar in their hands, people are like, wow, that's a big bar. So price per ounce, we're not expensive. Out of pocket or price on shelf, we are. So people that have tried us and know that we are a much bigger bar, they're like, well, this is actually good value. So we are stuck in this. I read a lot of comments online on TikTok, and some people either say it's actually really good value or they're really expensive, which is like, are they talking about the same product? And it is. It's the exact same bar through the lens of people that know us and have not bought us, but they just see the price. And that's something we have to navigate as a company. How do we explain to people that it is worth paying more, because a large chunk of our money goes towards the farmers and what we are doing for them. So
you have to make the mission very explicit.
We exist because of the mission, and the mission is for farmers to have a better life. So if you want to enjoy our chocolate, it's going to cost X, but you're actively contributing to what we're doing. We showcase that to retailers, to consumers. So we show, hey, retailer, this is how many farmers you helped in last year. And that's hundreds of farmers, families, and they had a normal...
And that's good for them to tell the story to the
It's something tangible. They go and say, wow, okay, this is not just good for my shelf and my category and for my targets that I have to achieve, but I'm doing something more than that, which is changing the industry and the farmers, which makes it all much more worth it than just selling another bar at a shelf. And
so your channels here in the US is mostly through the supermarkets, through the retailer.
We sell everywhere. We are by definition a natural brand. That's what we based on ingredients. We consider ourselves a mass premium brand. We started, of course, in the likes of Sprouts and Whole Foods and Fresh Market, so more natural channel. But right now we're literally with Costco lunch in a few these, decisions and everything. We're everywhere. We're from drug, from mass, from conventional grocery, national, regional, some convenience. I get messages every day. Oh my God, you guys are everywhere. Like the red car theory, right? Now you have Tony's, and because it's so unique, you see it everywhere. You
can't ignore the packaging. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You can't just pass by and
you can't miss it. The point is, this is one of the bars you cannot miss, and we take a lot of pride in it. Does that make us seem bigger than we are? Maybe, but we'll take that too. Why not? So yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, congrats on Costco. That's huge for the brand. It just gets me, I don't know. Costco is usually like on the price, right? Like you buy huge bulks, so for a lower price, and that's the mission of their brand. How do you get a premium product on that?
So we did it a bit different. That's a very valid point. We are known for our bars or the tablets. Costco, we went with this type of bag, just bigger. So went to a product that is not just established in other channels. So the price parity is a bit different. So if it works in Costco, I think that's going to give much more fuel to the fire in the other channels. So we played around with it a bit. We did a different path of just taking a product that is everywhere in Costco. We did it. Let's do it at Costco. And I think if it works, we can worry about what happens later in the other channels. So less risk, but on the core items, I think.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about the supply chain. What is this Tony's open chain functions that you have?
Yeah, that's a unique proposition. So on all of our packaging, you will see this the yellow button that says Tony's open chain. And essentially what we decided, that is how that's how we operate. And we have a full supply chain from, like we call bean to bar. So we have traceable beans, we have segregated process of making our chocolate, which is really not easy to do. And we said we're gonna do our supply chain differently. So it's all about the farmers, 5-year commitment. We help them on getting higher yields, getting a better price, which is always important. We don't buy from people that do deforestation in their field, so we do GPS tracking. So really for a small company in this space, I do feel we have the best supply chain. And that's something that it's not just relevant for Tony's as a internal customer of Open Chain, but also we always said we cannot do this alone. And we are humble enough to say, no matter how big we get as Tony's Chocolonely brand, we will never be able to change the industry alone. But if we are able to create a platform that will then get other big companies to say, instead of me doing this alone, why don't I join Tony's Open Chain to do it together? We believe that will give us the size. And what I love to say, and I know some in the industry don't like me to hear it, is we're going to take all the excuses from the table or off the table of other people not doing it. So we got some really remarkable brands that are now officially part of Open Chain. We have 20 brands and a lot in the funnel coming in. There will be some big names, but we already have, Ben & Jerry's. We have Feastables, which is, Mr. Beast, big brand. We have Huel. We have a lot of chains in Europe. So now people are like, wow, they're really getting brands that are way bigger than them to say, this is really credible.
So, but do you own the beans or do you just partner with the
We
rights?
source the beans. So we have cooperatives in West Africa that we have long-term contracts. Of course, as the demand grows, we have to onboard more cooperatives. We had single digit, now we're up to 19 cooperatives, which is thousands and thousands of farmers, which is incredible. We're talking that average yield per farm is very small. It's 15 bags of cocoa. It's very small. So we had to onboard them. We had to train them. We have to check on them. We look at the supply chain. We look at is there exploitation within the industry? Then we go and react if there is and stuff. The industry benchmark is 50%. We're at 4%, which is 4% too many, but still we're very transparent. We believe that by being transparent of the issues we find in our supply chain, that's the only way you can act on it. A lot of people avoid even discussing it, and we don't think that's right. So we are extremely transparent on everything we do. There's no plastic, there's no ingredients that are on the blacklist or anything. So we got to do what's right, because at the end of the day, it's
so
all
you
about
can eat it
credibility.
and not feel guilty not doing it.
We always say you should not eat too much of it because it's not good for you, but it's better for you than an average chocolate, and it's definitely more tasty. But we don't advertise to kids. We think kids should not be, hit with tasty chocolate in their face, because I don't think they're old enough to make rational decisions, especially should they buy, how much should they eat. So we leave that to people that are the right audience. So we take.
I'm not a parent, but I think if that's advertised to me and I know that that's credible source and real products, I'll feel safer to give that to my kids.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the right sequence of events of people going and say, wow, that's great. They're doing the great thing. We love it. And then they share with the kids. They bring it to school. They bring it as a gift. A lot of people receive our chocolate as a gift, either like this, or the personalized bar as a thank you or happy birthday or congrats.
Yeah, we tried to get a personalized OFFBounds bar.
I owe you that one for the next time. I'm going to get you. But what we see most people in their weddings as a welcome, they use Tony's personalized and they put the names, and that's something people bring at home. So really interesting way to see it. A lot of big corporates do it as a gift.
Wow, events is a whole industry for you then.
It's a major platform that we go to, and we think that people eating the chocolate, it's one of these things that if you go to a person that is they're gonna remember the event on its own and then associate with the chocolate they had, it's very lasting, right? So you try to hit these passion points of concerts, movies, weddings, and things like that by nature are high energy. And if you're a part of that experience, you're more likely to come back to it on its own and buy it. So,
yeah, and if people are choosing Tony's for the wedding, for their
right,
their only day, we hope only, the happiest day of their lives.
Right.
That makes it very special.
Makes it very
special.
Right? And when they have it uniquely made just for that they've designed, because essentially they go design a bar and they put on a product that is now very known. It is pretty unique, so we like it.
And I was a bit worried today. I was looking at the chart of price of cocoa beans, which is, I think, like compared to 20 years ago when Tony started, it has skyrocketed and it keeps getting higher.
Yeah.
How are you managing this cost and efficiency?
Tougher questions for later, right? Price of cocoa is 3 to 4 times higher than 18 months ago. It's at a levels that are unprecedented, not just for this commodity, but any commodity itself. The container of cocoa is more expensive than a container of copper. I mean, it's just like wild. So I was in Africa this December, past December, and you have armed guards guarding cocoa beans because they're so valuable, right? It's tough for everybody. I think the silver lining is that this will mean that farmers will make more money. And that's essentially what we've been trying to do. So as much as it hurts us to run a business, we're happy that the farmers, at the end of the day, I think will finally reap some of the benefits of that. But what that means is essentially the chocolate will be much more expensive. It already is. People will have to make a bit more rational choices. Now, chocolate is a guilty pleasure. It's very resilient from historical highs. So it's one of the...
I mean, every week I have to have...
It's not like, you might not have, but I'm a big believer that if you have a great premium product, people will switch from mainstream to eating less but better for them, or more, what they get out of it. So I think being positioned as a premium brand, you're in a better spot, but still it's going to be tough. So let's see what happens over the next 12 to 18 months. Will be very interesting.
I'm very confident that people keep eating good chocolate. I'm seeing like a lot of bigger brands, I won't name any of them, opting out of chocolate itself and just like having the taste of chocolate, artificial taste of chocolate.
Yeah, we taste a lot of them. Again, I never mention names either. Everybody does what they think it's the right for them and consumer, but we have not adjusted the recipe. We don't do these things. We don't do shrinkflation. We just go and say, it is what it is. This is where the money goes. We have a P&L every year like we're a public company. This is how much went to the farmers, to our foundation, everything. And people can make a rational. We give them all the information. It's their choice. I still think this is very well worth chocolate bar that you get so much out of it on a mission and a taste that we should be.
How much chocolate do you eat? Curious.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how much camera can capture of me, but with Tony's, I grew up having a chocolate in my backpack. It's now, like I said, I usually can measure how much it took. It's either a line or a few squares. This one you cannot. So because it breaks uneven. So you always cheat like, oh, this one was a smaller piece, so you always get another piece. I usually eat half of the bar when I do.
Wait, what size? Like this
the
bar?
Large bar? No, that one I eat the whole thing.
Okay.
If I do the large bars, I eat the whole thing. But I either go and I eat as much as I want, essentially, or I just don't eat it for a period of time. Because I have a tough time controlling myself around Tony's. And when it's everywhere and it's free, it's really tough.
And how do you see the future of retail and the growth of products that are both premium and has a mission-driven story?
Well, I think the retail landscape will be, in general, when it comes to CPG, very complicated. I think we're in a time period where, a lot of the insurgent, disruptive brands that are appearing across every category. My background is in beer, and we had that with craft 20 years ago. Craft beer became cool, and everybody jumped on it and said we need to give it as much space, and every craft beer is good, and we need to have 50 flavors and 50 SKUs. I think we're seeing that across different categories, from sodas, chocolate, pasta, whatever you name, any industry, which I think is making retailers very inefficient for themselves because they think they have to cater to everybody. So I think there will be a period of people saying, listen, you know what? Will this brand or this proposition be relevant in 3 to 5 years? If it's not, I'm going to make an early call and just focus on what I think will be there. And we're kind of seeing that. I think it's going to come more, especially as you have the cost pressures, inflation coming there. But I do feel the future of products, food and beverage, is within the brands that offer more than just a taste. And if you want to be a household name, you need to provide something to ever-changing consumer, because if you look at the young, let's say Gen Z, Gen X, right, they're so impatient. They want to try everything. They switch even when they love something, they switch to something else. But if you give them enough meaning to say, I should always be one of the brands on your repertoire, right? I think you can build a brand that it's going to be there in the next 10 years. And I think for the brands that are not doing that at the moment, I think we're going to have some major brands that in 5 years will be completely obsolete. And that's shocking when you have $10 billion brands that are going to be gone, but a lot of them are literally melting because
And they mostly own everything. Like
but I just think that the bigger companies will need to have a strong pipeline of brands that are very much against what they stand for at their core, and that's really hard to do when you're designed to operate in a certain way, and the market is asking you to adjust that. It's very tough because you're just not built for that. So you can either slowly start or
you mean like becoming more sustainable?
Yeah, well, you were saying like, how do I shift for what I stand for? Either acquiring other companies that will change me within, or I'm going to start doing it. But I'm seeing that in chocolate. It's very tough for brands to do.
Yeah, and I think the younger generation, Gen Zers and Gen Alpha, that unfortunately we're already talking about them.
We are. They're coming. They're here.
Yeah, they're here.
They're here.
They see that if you're just trying to say something that is valuable for them and is not genuine, they see it as faking and they look at something else. So I think like Tony doesn't have this problem because
we started out of a mission, and I think the companies that really start with the mission first are the ones that have higher likelihood to be genuine. I think there's a lot of greenwashing. There's a lot of misinterpretation of ingredients, what they're solving, and I think that creates the suspicion within the consumer. So everybody goes first, I don't trust you. Convince me, should I trust you? And that's going to make the life of the existing and new brands very tough. And retailers the same, because trust me, retailers go with some very hard questions on what you do if you want to be seen credible. Are you premium? Do you really do what you say? Like, how's your supply chain? They go to the details. You're surprised because they're dealt with so much on their face. They're like, I really got to distinguish what is a reset pitch meeting that you're trying to get 3 SKUs on the shelf.
It's their brand equity as well, right?
Right. It is. It's genuine, especially
risk it.
Especially imagine when they want to. We have many retailers in Europe that have private label that we do for them through our supply chain. They don't want to put their logo and their brand in the hands of somebody that tomorrow will be, oh no, we really don't do what we said. And yeah, but it's actually a little bit different. You lose credibility for everybody. So like I always say, if you only need to lose credibility once and you lost it forever. But to build it, it's 20 years and running. So it's you got to be very careful.
And but the good thing is that Tony's is so transparent, like that if you go to your website, you see everything. You see the supply chain, you see the mission, you see what you do. So I guess you don't have this hard time of trying to convince people that what you're saying is true.
That's true. That's very true.
He wish.
That's true. No, we have third-party auditors for everything we do. Financial statements, our supply chain, our everything we do, because again, trust but verify is my motto. So we check it, but it's always good to get an expert in that particular field to say, we're going to check it, and we always do it. We pay for it. We encourage it because it's the right thing to do. Because again, we don't control the full process across the board. So we might as well check if everything we're thinking we're doing is really the way. And knock on wood, has been, but it's every day, right? So it's never easy.
And you came from an interesting background, 15 years at InBev, so working with beverages. How was this transition for you? Like 15 years to 3 years?
3 years just now, a little over 3 years. Yeah, it was.
That is a big shift. How was that process?
It was a really big shift that I think it takes time for you to reflect and understand it. I think ABI is the best company in the world. I think it's a company that I always say I'm a child of ABI. I don't drink out of beers still. I'm a big fan of the company, of what they do, of the portfolio they have. Very different culture, very different environment. Again, I was still very famous within my friends because it's beer and I could get any beer I wanted, all the coolest events. So
you're always invited.
I'm always with the product that they'll get me an extra thing. But it's a different culture, much more competitive, bigger, right? 200,000 people, $60 billion. I ran a portfolio of 1 billion, so it was much bigger. But I always said if I ever leave, and I left because I really, by mistake, ran into this brand at an airport store, Schiphol Airport. And I thought there was something different. And I always said, if I do something outside of AB, it will be drastically different. And I think on one end of the spectrum, we have AB. On the other, it's Tony's. It was tough 6 to 12 months, I got to say, from the number of people that you have to get stuff done, to the processes, to the systems, to how long does it get to do the simplest thing. I think we've evolved drastically in the last 3 years. We're becoming way more organized, capable, great team that can do remarkable things. So it's getting closer to what I kind of maybe expected at that point. But I think the beauty is in the journey of where we came and where we are. And I think we're really becoming a global phenomenon that is fun to be part of. Because, when I was leaving ABI, I would say, I'm working for Tony. So like, what? Tony?
Tony's who?
It was like, it took me 10 minutes. The bar. Then I would Google the bar. Oh, I might have seen the bar. And to our point at the beginning, now I said Tony's. They're like, oh my God, you're so lucky. I'm like, 3 years ago, not everybody said that. But I was very fortunate to have the honor to be part of this great team and the company and the mission. It's really humbling.
I have a lot of friends that are like, we talk, right? Like that are considering a career shift or changing companies or changing industries. What would be your advice for someone to do a pivot like that?
I think it all depends of how risk averse you are. Because I think, leaving a big company, it's a big risk, especially at least in my situation. But it's also, what is your ambition? Where do you want to get to? And, I want to be in future after Tony's a CEO of a company like this. That was more, to me, I said, would be really cool to build something like this again at a similar type of company with a similar category. But in order to do it, I needed to do what I'm doing. And I think it's, you think you know a lot, but then you realize how much you really don't know and how much you need to learn.
And I think going to a smaller company, like we have to wear a lot more hats than you used to.
You literally touch everything. So from how we're going to supply 100 million of a product, to why the elevator doesn't work, to are we going to get a new printer, or the AC doesn't work, or how are we going to hire people, onboard them. Our headquarters is in Amsterdam, how we dealing with the home base and everything. So I think it's such a good experience, regardless of the frustration, the growing pains, that to me, anybody who was in a bigger system coming to a company like this, they kind of like, wow, this is really cool. Like I said, not easy. A lot of frustrations, a lot of why is this the case still today? But at the end of the day, you have much more impact of fixing or improving these things. So instead of my previous company goes, hey,
I think you see the whole
and you should go and say, at the end of the day, it's you and the team who's going to do it. So you can have 50 problems, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, so what are we doing about it? So if we don't do anything about it, it's not a problem. And that was kind of the thing when I joined was, there was a lot of these mission-driven people. They're super smart, working hard. And me with this mindset of the big company, like, why this? They're like, do it like this. Like, why not this? They're like, we can't do that, right? But I think what it brings you when you come from a company with AB, which was really cool on the other end, is AB is known to dream big. And man, there's no dream big enough like in AB. And I love that I was brought through a system, both in personal side and in the company, that when I came in, I put some really big goals. People looked at me like, man, you're crazy. Today we go and we're like, we got to these goals. And I'm like, another goal. And now people are like, okay, now I believe him because we did it because, and I think you need to have more change agents than change objects. When I joined, there were way more people I needed to influence than people that were trying to influence them with me. Today, it's very different. Most of the people are like, yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to do it even more. And the other ones are like, okay, let me jump on board because this thing is moving and we're going to do it. So I love when I see in people this belief starting to build and, confidence that, man, they look crazy. But now, am I crazy? I'm going to do this twice as big. And I'm like, yeah, man, you're going to do it and you can do it.
You created some monsters.
You create a lot of little monsters. And those little monsters become this monster that everybody's like, wow, they're coming to eat our lunch. And it's super cool. And I think when you're in a big company, no matter what you do, you're one screw in a big engine. So you do movements, but you don't see the whole thing. Here it's, I don't like this. Let's put this bar instead of this. Okay, let's do it. 6 months, it's on the shelf. You're like, we've done this. Or let's launch this. We're like, come on.
And you get addicted to the results.
I'm in a car with my colleague. We're like, why don't we do this? It's a great idea. 6 months since it's on the shelf, you're like, we've done this, right? So the speed of you can do some things, it's and you're like, I had direct input into these things. It's really cool. So whoever is thinking about, it is challenging, but man, it's so rewarding. Don't just do it. The more you think, you're not going to do it. So just do it.
And do you have kids?
Yeah, I have 3 kids and I have 1 more on the way.
So you were the cool guy bringing beers, and now you are the cool guy bringing chocolate.
Yes, I am the talk of every school my kids go to. I am the Tony's guy, or the Tony. It was funny. My kids go to a swim school, and now they found out that I'm the dad of the kids that go to that school, and they're big fans of Tony's. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, your dad is the Tony, so you should bring Tony's and everything." So they bring a lot. They got tired of the chocolate, which is good because they had so much of it. They're not like, we don't want Tony's, which is good for them. But in other cases, for their birthday, we do like a dinosaur bar that my son and I design, and then for other stuff we do a personalized bar. So I'm the cool dad now, yeah, for sure.
Amazing.
So I always have to bring a lot of chocolate. So
well, I think we should try a chocolate.
yeah, we
What do
should.
you think?
Yeah.
Which one should we?
Well, I didn't bring you can do the milk or you can do the pretzel. So maybe
Which
try
one is the
first.
best seller?
I didn't bring it, but let's try these two. Oh, this is plain milk. So to me, if you want to taste the chocolate, you should start with plain milk because that's the base for right. But to your point, hold on. This orange one. This is the flavor that made the brand the sensation. This is caramel sea salt.
Caramel sea salt. I love caramel sea
So
salt.
this is the one that everybody that tries, they go absolutely crazy. And this is what the first one was that they came up with.
You're not gonna eat?
I'll do one. Yeah. I didn't eat dessert for lunch. I'm like, I'm probably going to taste a lot of the chocolate. So, yeah. Well, this is the one.
I love my job. Seriously. I'm sure you love yours.
I love it. It's so sweet. I have the sweetest job.
Dusan, thank you so much. This was very delicious and very inspiring conversation. Thanks for joining me.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you.